My phone lit up at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. My sister's name glowed on the screen, and for just a second I smiled. Maybe she was calling to thank me for the centerpiece mock-ups I'd sent over. Maybe she wanted to talk about the song choices for the ceremony. Maybe just this once she remembered I existed for reasons beyond what I could fix. I answered on the second ring. "Don't bother showing up to the wedding." 6 words. No hello, no explanation. Just a cold, flat statement delivered like she was telling me the weather forecast. "Olivia, what?" "It's not your day, Emma. We've decided to keep it intimate. Family only." I sat up in bed, my heart pounding. "I am family. I'm your sister. You know what I mean. The real family. People who matter to the photos." The line went dead. I stared at my phone, waiting for the follow-up text, the "just kidding," the anything that would make this make sense. It never came. Instead, I lay in the dark for 3 hours, replaying every conversation, every email, every late-night phone call where I'd talked her through floral arrangements and color palettes and seating charts that I apparently would never see. At 2:47 a.m., I laughed. Not a happy laugh. The kind that bubbles up when reality finally breaks through the wall of denial you've been building for 29 years. I grabbed my laptop, opened a new tab, and booked a flight to Maui. One way, leaving the day before her wedding. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up because this story doesn't start with that text message. It starts 30 years ago in a house where love was rationed and approval was currency I could never seem to earn. Growing up in the Carter household meant understanding the rules nobody ever spoke out loud. Olivia got the front seat. I got the middle back. Olivia chose the restaurant. I ate what was ordered. Olivia's report card went on the fridge with sparkly star magnets. Mine went in a drawer acknowledged with a distracted, "That's nice, honey," before Mom turned back to whatever crisis Olivia had manufactured that week. I was 7 when I first understood the hierarchy. It was Olivia's 10th birthday party, the kind with a rented bounce house, and a woman who made balloon animals that actually looked like animals. I'd spent the morning helping Mom set up tying ribbons to chair backs while Olivia slept in. When the guests arrived, I hovered near the snack table, hoping someone would talk to me. "Who's that?" I heard one of Olivia's friends ask, pointing at me. "Oh, that's just Emma," Olivia said, already turning away. "She's nobody." Just Emma, nobody. I was 7 years old, and I already knew my place. The dynamic only intensified as we got older. When Olivia turned 16, she threw a party that spiraled into chaos. 3 of her friends got drunk on vodka they'd stolen from someone's parents, and one of them knocked over Mom's antique vase, the one that had belonged to her grandmother. It shattered into 100 pieces across the hardwood floor. I was upstairs doing homework when I heard the crash, followed by Olivia's panicked voice. By the time I came down, she'd already crafted the story. Emma was running through the house. She told our parents, tears streaming down her face with impressive theatricality. I told her to stop, but she wouldn't listen. I tried to catch it, but I opened my mouth to defend myself, saw the desperate plea in Olivia's eyes, and closed it again. Mom and Dad grounded me for 2 weeks. Olivia's party continued upstairs, the music muffled through my bedroom floor, as I sat alone learning the most important lesson of my childhood. My truth mattered less than Olivia's comfort. College should have been my escape. Instead, it became another arena for comparison. Olivia went to Northwestern, a private university with a $60,000 annual price tag that our parents paid without blinking. When it was my turn, Dad sat me down at the kitchen table with a spreadsheet. "We've crunched the numbers," he said, not quite meeting my eyes. "With Olivia's loans and the economy the way it is, we can cover your state school tuition, but you'll need to work for living expenses." I worked 30 hours a week at a campus bookstore, came home every break to a house where Olivia's achievements papered the walls literal and figurative. Her sorority composite, her dean's list certificates, her internship at a marketing firm in Chicago that Dad must have mentioned to me 17 times. "Your sister's doing so well," he'd say, beaming, "really making something of herself." I graduated summa cum laude with a degree in hospitality management. I don't think Dad remembered what my major was. But here's the thing about being invisible: you learn to watch. You learn to notice the details everyone else misses, to anticipate needs before they're spoken, to create magic in the margins of other people's lives. Those skills served me well when I started Carter Events 5 years ago. I built my business from nothing, just me and a laptop, and a gift for seeing what could be instead of what was. I turned community centers into ballrooms, backyards into enchanted gardens, Simple moments into memories people would treasure forever. My clients sent handwritten thank you notes. They recommended me to their friends. They saw me, really saw me in a way my own family never had. 2 years ago, Olivia called me at midnight, her voice thick with panic. I messed up. I messed up really bad. She'd racked up $23,000 in credit card debt buying designer clothes and furniture for an apartment she couldn't afford, trying to maintain an Instagram-perfect life that was rotting from the inside. The minimum payments were crushing her, and she was 3 months behind. I took money from my business emergency fund, the savings I'd earmarked for expanding Carter events, and paid off her highest interest cards. $11,000 transferred without hesitation, because that's what sisters do. Right, I'll pay you back, Olivia promised, sobbing with relief. I swear, Em. 6 months, maybe a year. I'll pay you back. That was April 2022. I never saw a dollar of it. More than that, it was never mentioned again, not at family dinners or holiday gatherings. It dissolved into the family amnesia that protected Olivia from ever having to feel gratitude or guilt. When she got engaged to James Mitchell last November, I was genuinely happy for her. James seemed kind, stable, the type of guy who opened doors and remembered birthdays. At the engagement party held at a trendy rooftop bar that cost more than my monthly rent, Olivia pulled me aside. I want you to plan the wedding, she said, squeezing my hands. Nobody knows events like you do. It would mean so much to have you be part of this. Part of this. Those words hooked into something soft in my chest, some childish part of me that still believed I could earn my way into their love. So when she added, obviously I can't afford your full rate but family discount, right? I heard myself say yes. Not just a discount. Free. Completely, entirely free. 6 months of my life, my expertise, my connections all offered up like a sacrifice to the altar of maybe finally being seen. The planning started in December, right after Christmas. We met at Mom and Dad's house. Olivia sprawled across the couch with wedding magazines while I sat cross-legged on the floor with my tablet taking notes. I'm thinking elegant garden party meets modern romance, Olivia said, not looking up from the magazine. Very Pinterest, but elevated, you know? I knew. I'd planned 47 weddings in the past 3 years. I knew exactly what she meant, and I knew exactly how much it would cost. What's your budget? I asked, stylist poised. Olivia waved her hand vaguely. I don't know whatever's normal. You're the expert. Olivia, I need a number. She sighed like I was being difficult. Fine. 30,000, I did the mental math. For the wedding she was describing in the Chicago suburbs during peak season, 30,000 wouldn't cover the venue deposit and catering combined. Let me work on some options, I said carefully. I'll put together a few packages at different price points. Over the next week, I called in every favor I had. I'd worked with most of the top vendors in the area, and I had a reputation for being professional, organized, and easy to work with. That goodwill became my currency. I got Thornhill Estate, a venue that normally ran $18,000 for a Saturday in August, down to $15,000. I negotiated with Savory Affairs, the caterer Olivia insisted on after seeing their work on Instagram, and got them to $12,000 for plated service for 150 guests, 25% below their usual rate. The florist Bloom & Co. agreed to $8,000 for the elaborate garden arrangements. Olivia wanted a price that made their manager wince but accept because I'd brought them 12 clients in the past year. I presented the numbers to Olivia in a beautiful PDF I'd stayed up until 2 a.m. creating, complete with mood boards and timeline breakdowns. This is amazing, she squealed, hugging me briefly before releasing me to scroll through the document on her laptop. You're the best, Em. Then she got to the final page where I'd listed the payment schedule. Wait, so I need to put down deposits now. By the end of January for the venue and caterer, I confirmed. They need commitment to hold the date. Can't you just use your business account, then I'll reimburse you? I should have said no. I should have established boundaries right then, made it clear that free planning didn't mean I was also extending free credit. But I saw the expectant look on her face, the way she'd already dismissed it as handled, and I found myself nodding. Sure, I can cover the deposits. The deposits totaled $18,500. I transferred the money from Carter Events' operating account, telling myself it was fine. Olivia would pay me back before the final payments were due in July. This was family. This was different. But family, I was learning, was exactly why it wasn't different. It was why it was worse. January through May blurred into a parade of late nights and early mornings. I worked on Olivia's wedding between my paying clients stealing hours from sleep and weekends and any semblance of a personal life. 234 hours, according to the time tracking app I use for business. If I'd billed at my standard rate, it would have been $35,000 in labor alone. I scouted venues with her, even though she'd already chosen Thornhill Estate. "I just want to be sure," she said, and so we spent 3 Saturdays touring places she had no intention of booking. I created seating charts and revised them 17 times because she kept changing her mind about whether Aunt Linda should sit near Aunt Carol or if that would cause drama. I called the baker at 9 p.m. because Olivia suddenly worried the cake flavors weren't unique enough. And through it all, I told myself it mattered, that this effort would translate into something recognition, appreciation, maybe even love. In March, I noticed something odd. Olivia posted an Instagram story from a travel agent's office showing a brochure for an overwater bungalow in the Maldives. Honeymoon planning can't wait for 6 weeks in paradise. 6 weeks. The initial plan had been 2 weeks, maybe 3 if they splurged. I screenshot the story and texted her. 6 weeks in the Maldives. That's amazing. How are you swinging that? The reply came an hour later. Found some deals. You know me always hustling. I didn't think much of it then. I should have. The first real crack in the facade appeared in mid-April. I was in the middle of a site visit with a paying client when my phone buzzed with a text from Olivia. "Hey, so the florist says they need another $3,500 for the ceremony arch and aisle arrangements. Can you cover it? I'll add it to what I owe you." I excused myself and stepped outside, reading the message 3 times. The ceremony arch and aisle arrangements had been in the original quote. This wasn't a new expense. This was the balance on work already agreed to. I called Bloom & Co. directly. "Hi, Emma." Kara, the owner, sounded cheerful. "I was just about to reach out to you. We're finalizing quantities for the Carter Mitchell wedding, and I wanted to confirm the additional pieces Olivia added last week." Additional pieces. Yes, she came in and upgraded to premium garden roses instead of standard, and she added arrangements for the cocktail hour and 3 additional statement pieces for the reception entrance. It's exquisite, really, but it does bring the total to $11,500 instead of the original $8,000. I closed my eyes, feeling the familiar weight settle on my chest. "Thanks, Kara. I'll handle it." After I hung up, I texted Olivia back. "I already put down the deposit and we agreed on a budget. I can't cover more." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. "Don't make this a big deal. It's just money. Plus, you're saving so much by not having to pay a planner. Think of it as evening out. Just money. My money. Money I'd earned, budgeted, relied on for my own business expenses. And the assumption that my labor was worth nothing, that free planning somehow entitled her to drain my bank account. It took my breath away. I didn't respond. Instead, I called my mom, hoping for backup for someone to confirm that this was unreasonable. Mom answered on the first ring. "Hi, honey. I'm just at the grocery store. What's up?" I explained the situation as calmly as I could, trying to keep the frustration out of my voice. "Well," Mom said, and I could hear the careful neutrality that meant she was about to take Olivia's side. "You know Olivia's under a lot of stress right now. Wedding planning is so overwhelming. If you can help her out, you probably should. You don't want to add to her stress." "What about my stress?" I asked quietly. "Emma, don't be dramatic. You do events for a living. This is easy for you. For Olivia, it's her one special day. Just be the bigger person, okay? That's what family does. Be the bigger person. Code for make yourself smaller so Olivia can shine brighter." The real breaking point came 3 days later when Dad called. "Sweetheart," his voice boomed through the phone, jovial and warm. "I wanted to give you a heads up. We're all chipping in for Olivia and James's wedding gift, helping with the down payment on their first house. Your share is $2,500. You can just Venmo me when you get a chance." I was sitting at my desk surrounded by vendor contracts and timeline spreadsheets for Olivia's wedding. "Dad, I'm not even invited to the wedding anymore." Silence stretched between us. Then in a harder tone, "This isn't about the wedding, Clara. This is about family. Don't punish your sister over one little seating issue." One little seating issue. As if my entire existence could be reduced to a logistical inconvenience. "I've already given her $11,000 that she never paid back," I said, my voice shaking. "I've given her 6 months of free work. I've given—" "That debt thing was years ago," Dad interrupted. "And you offered to do the wedding planning. Nobody forced you." Now you're going to hold that over her head. That's not who we raised you to be. Except they hadn't raised me. They'd raised Olivia. I'd just been there in the background absorbing the lessons about my worthlessness that nobody thought they were teaching. I hung up without committing to the money. My hands were shaking so hard I had to put my phone down and walk away from my desk. That night I sat on my couch with my laptop scrolling through Instagram. My cousin Sophie had posted photos from an event, a beautiful garden party with women in sundresses, champagne glasses catching the sunlight, a banner that read bride-to-be. It was Olivia's bridal shower. I clicked through the photos slowly, each one a small knife wound. There was the table setting I'd helped choose the color scheme I'd suggested. There were the bridesmaids in matching blush dresses I'd spent 2 weeks helping Olivia select. There was Mom beaming with pride. There was Aunt Linda, Aunt Carol cousins I'd grown up with, all gathered to celebrate Olivia. The caption read, "The A-Team celebrating our girl, Bride Squad goals." I wasn't in a single photo. I hadn't been invited. I checked the date. It had been held at Garden Terrace Cafe, the same venue I'd scouted and recommended for the shower 3 months ago. Olivia had loved it. Promised to book it, then apparently proceeded to book it for a party I wasn't welcome at. I closed Instagram and opened my messages, finding Sophie's name. "Did you know I wasn't invited?" I typed, then deleted it. Too accusatory. Looks like it was a beautiful party. I tried instead, then deleted that too. Too passive-aggressive. Finally, I just wrote, "I didn't know there was a shower." Sophie's reply came quickly. "Em, I'm so sorry. Olivia said you were too busy with work stuff and couldn't make it. I should have checked with you directly. I feel awful." Too busy with work stuff. The work stuff that was planning her entire wedding for free. I didn't respond. I turned off my phone, walked to my bathroom, and looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were red-rimmed, my face pale. I looked exhausted. I looked like someone who'd been slowly disappearing for 29 years and was just now noticing. For the first time, it wasn't just sadness. It was something colder, sharper. Anger that hummed like electricity under my skin, demanding action instead of acceptance. Tim. The next morning I woke up to 3 texts from Sophie. "Em, seriously, I'm so sorry about the shower thing. Olivia made it sound like you didn't want to come because you were overwhelmed. Can we get coffee? I feel like there's stuff you should know." We met at a small cafe near my apartment. Sophie arrived 10 minutes late, her expression guilty before she even sat down. "I should have called you," she said immediately. "I should have confirmed. But Olivia was so convincing about the whole Emma's too busy thing, and I believed her." "What stuff did you want to tell me?" I asked, stirring sugar into my coffee, even though I didn't take sugar. I just needed something to do with my hands. Sophie glanced around the cafe, then leaned in. "Okay, look. I love Olivia. She's my cousin, and I want her to be happy. But Emma, the way she talks about you when you're not around, it's not good." My stomach tightened. What does she say? She tells everyone you're controlling, that you're trying to take over her wedding and make it about you. She showed people the vendor contracts and made this whole thing about how you're being inflexible about her creative vision. Sophie made air quotes, her face twisted with discomfort. "And the thing is, she's so convincing. She cries at just the right moments. People believe her." I thought about the contracts, the ones I'd spent hours negotiating to give Olivia exactly what she wanted within a budget she'd never have gotten on her own. Controlling. "Did she mention that I'm paying for most of this wedding?" I asked quietly. Sophie's eyes widened. "What, no? She said you were planning it, but that she and James were covering all the costs." Of course she did. Of course she'd written me out of the narrative entirely, except as the villain trying to ruin her perfect day. "Sophie, I've put down $18,500 in deposits. I'm planning this wedding for free. That's another $35,000 in labor if I charged my normal rate. And I'm not invited." Sophie sat back in her chair, coffee forgotten. "You're not invited, but you're her sister. Apparently I'm too much of a seating issue. That's—" Sophie stopped, seemed to recalibrate. "Emma, that's really messed up. You know that, right? This whole thing is messed up." "Then why didn't you say something?" The question came out harsher than I intended. Sophie flinched. "Because I didn't know, and honestly because I didn't want to get involved in family drama. I know how your parents are about Olivia. Anything that makes her upset becomes everyone's problem." She paused. "I'm a coward. I should have checked in with you months ago. I'm sorry." We sat in silence for a moment, the cafe sounds filling the space between us. The hiss of the espresso machine, the murmur of other conversations, the clink of spoons against ceramic. "What are you going to do?" Sophie finally asked. I didn't have an answer yet, but I could feel it forming like a storm gathering on the horizon. 10 days before the wedding, my phone rang at 7:30 a.m. Olivia's name flashed on the screen. I almost didn't answer, but years of conditioning are hard to break. The band canceled. No hello, no preamble, just panic crackling through the line. Their lead singer has pneumonia or something they can't perform. "Emma, the wedding is in 10 days. You have to fix this." I was still in bed, my coffee not even brewed yet. "Olivia, I'm not your wedding planner anymore. Remember, I'm not even invited." "Oh my God, don't be petty. This is an emergency. You know people. You have connections. Just call someone and fix it." The entitlement in her voice, the absolute certainty that I would drop everything to solve her problem, lit something inside me. "No," I said simply. "What do you mean no?" "I mean no. I'm not fixing this. Call a professional planner." "With 10 days' notice, do you know how much that would cost?" "About what I've already given you for free, probably." Her voice rose to a screech. "Are you kidding me? After everything I've done for you, you're really going to be this petty?" Everything she'd done for me. I waited for her to elaborate, to list even one thing, but she just kept going. "You're so selfish. You've always been jealous of me, and now you're trying to ruin my wedding because you can't stand that I'm happy." I hung up, just pressed the red button and ended the call, my heart pounding in the sudden silence. The phone rang again immediately. I declined it. It rang again, declined. On the fourth call, I turned my phone completely off and sat in the quiet of my bedroom, something settling into place in my chest. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what Olivia had said, "Everything I've done for you." I pulled out my journal and started writing a list of everything she'd actually done for me over the past 29 years. The page stayed blank for 20 minutes before I gave up. Then I started a different list, everything I'd done for her. The page filled quickly, spilled onto a second page, then a third. Money loaned and never repaid. Messes cleaned up. Lies covered for. Opportunities sacrificed. And now 6 months of my life and nearly $20,000 poured into a wedding where I wasn't welcome. At 2 a.m., my phone turned back on because I couldn't bear to be completely unreachable, buzzed with a call from my mother. "Emma Judith Carter." Mom's voice was ice. "I just got off the phone with your sister. She is beside herself. How could you abandon her at a time like this? She uninvited me to her wedding, Mom. That was a seating issue. You're blowing this completely out of proportion." "Then why didn't you call me when I was excluded from the bridal shower? Or when she told everyone I was too controlling? Or when she spent the wedding budget on a 6-week honeymoon to the Maldives instead of paying me back?" There was a pause, a long one. Then, "How did you know about the Maldives?" My blood went cold. "So you knew. You knew she was using the money she should have been spending on the wedding." "Emma, that's not, it's complicated. Olivia and James wanted one nice thing, one splurge before they settled down. We helped them with some of it. They deserve to be happy. By using my deposits, money I can't afford to lose. You'll get it back," Mom said, but her voice wavered. "After the wedding, when they're settled, they'll pay you back." Just like she'd paid back the $11,000. Just like she'd acknowledged any of the sacrifices I'd made. "I'm done," I heard myself say. "I'm done being the bank and the maid and the emotional support system for people who don't even see me." "Emma, don't be ridiculous." I hung up on her too. Then I pulled out my laptop and opened the folder marked Olivia Wedding Contracts. One by one I reviewed each document. Venue contract signed by Emma Carter, Carter Events, LLC. Catering contract signed by Emma Carter, Carter Events, LLC. Florist agreement signed by Emma Carter, Carter Events, LLC. Every single contract bore my name, my business name. Not Olivia's, not my parents', mine. And according to the terms I'd negotiated, final payments were due 7 days before the event. If those payments weren't received, the contracts would be void, and my deposits would be refunded to the account on file. Carter Events business account. I sat staring at the screen, my cursor hovering over the calendar. 7 days from now. The final payments would be due in 7 days, and Olivia hadn't mentioned a word about covering them, because she assumed I would, because I always did. But I didn't have to. Legally, professionally, I was the client. These vendors answered to me. Not to Olivia, to me. For the first time in my life, I held all the power, and they had no idea. I picked up my phone and called Sarah Chen, my friend from college who'd gone to law school and now specialized in contract law. She answered on the third ring, her voice groggy. "Emma, it's 2 a.m. Are you okay?" "I need your legal opinion on something," I said, "and I need to know if I'm crazy for what I'm thinking about doing." "Hold on, let me get coffee for this." I heard rustling footsteps, the beep of a coffee maker in the background. When Sarah came back on the line, I told her everything. The money, the exclusion, the contracts, the final payment deadline. "Let me get this straight," Sarah said slowly. "You're the client on all these contracts. You paid all the deposits. And your sister who has cut you out of the wedding is expecting you to also pay the final balances." "Yes. And if you don't pay them, the contract's void and you get your deposits back." "According to the terms, yes." "Emma," Sarah's voice was careful, "you know I have to ask, is this revenge?" I thought about that word. Revenge implied malice, cruelty, a desire to cause pain. But that wasn't what this felt like. This felt like self-preservation. Like finally, after 29 years, choosing myself. "No," I said finally. "It's boundaries. For the first time in my life, I'm setting boundaries." "Then you're not crazy," Sarah said. "And legally, you're absolutely within your rights. But Emma, you know this will blow up your family." "Sarah, they've already blown me up. I'm just finally admitting it." We talked for another hour, Sarah helping me think through the implications, the possible responses, the aftermath I'd have to navigate. When we hung up, the sky was starting to lighten outside my window. I opened my email and began to draft 7 identical messages, one for each vendor. "Dear vendor name, as the primary client and contract holder for the Carter Mitchell wedding scheduled for August 30th, 2024, I am writing to inform you that I will not be remitting the final payment as stipulated in our agreement. Per the terms of our contract, please consider this official notice of cancellation effective immediately. The deposit paid should be refunded to the business account on file, Carter Events LLC, within 5-7 business days, as outlined in Section 12.3 of our agreement. Thank you for your professionalism throughout this process. Best regards, Emma Carter, owner, Carter Events LLC." I read them over a dozen times, my hand hovering over the Schedule Send button. This wasn't just about a wedding anymore. This was about everything, every time I'd been dismissed, every sacrifice that went unacknowledged, every moment I'd made myself smaller so Olivia could be bigger. The cursor blinked, waiting, daring me. At exactly 8:00 a.m., I scheduled all 7 emails to send at 9:00 a.m. the next morning, exactly 7 days before the wedding. Then I closed my laptop, called the airline, and changed my flight to Maui to leave a day earlier. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel righteous. I felt like someone who'd been holding their breath underwater for 3 decades and had finally desperately fought their way to the surface. And I wasn't going back under. Not for anyone. End of part 1. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at my kitchen table with every contract spread out like evidence at a crime scene. The paperwork told a story my family had never bothered to read. I wasn't just helping with Olivia's wedding. I owned it. Thornhill Estate, Savory Affairs Catering, Bloom & Co. Florist, Elegant Sounds DJ Services, Chicago Classic Transportation, Luminous Photography, Sweet Moments Bakery, 7 contracts, 7 deposits totaling $18,500, all in my name, all legally mine to cancel. My coffee had gone cold hours ago, but I kept sipping it anyway, the bitter taste somehow fitting. I pulled out my calculator and started running numbers I already knew by heart. If the final payments weren't made by the deadline this coming Tuesday at 5 p.m., each contract would void automatically. The deposits would be refunded within 7 business days. By the time Olivia's wedding day arrived, I'd have my money back and she'd have nothing. No venue, no food, no flowers, no music, no transportation, no photographer, no cake. My phone buzzed on the table. A text from Maya Rodriguez, my best friend since college and the owner of Maya's Kitchen, a small bakery in Wicker Park. "You still up? Saw your light on from the street." I texted back. "Come up, bring wine." 10 minutes later, Maya appeared at my door with a bottle of red and 2 glasses. She took one look at my face and the papers scattered across the table and poured generously. "Talk to me," she said, settling into the chair across from me. I told her everything. The exclusion from the wedding, the bridal shower, the phone calls, the money, the 6-week Maldives honeymoon funded by the budget, I thought was going to vendors. And finally, the contracts. Maya listened without interrupting, her expression growing darker with each detail. When I finished, she drained her wine glass and refilled it. "So let me get this straight," she said slowly. "You've given this woman nearly $20,000, 6 months of free labor, and your professional reputation by vouching for her with vendors. And she's not even inviting you to the wedding." "Correct. And now you're thinking about canceling everything." "I already scheduled the cancellation emails. They send tomorrow morning at 9. Maya was quiet for a long moment, swirling wine in her glass. "How do you feel?" It was such a simple question, but it cracked something open in my chest. "Terrified," I whispered. "And free. And guilty for feeling free. Emma, if a client treated you this way, any client, what would you do?" "I'd drop them immediately." "Then why are you asking me if this is okay?" I stared at my hands, at the stack of contracts, at the evidence of my own exploitation laid out in black and white. "Because they're my family. Because I'm supposed to be the bigger person. Because Mom always said, 'Stop.'" Maya's voice was sharp. "Your mom also lets Olivia treat you like an ATM machine with a degree in event planning. Maybe it's time to stop listening to what your mom says you're supposed to do and start listening to what you deserve." The word hung in the air between us. Deserve. As if I was entitled to basic respect, to acknowledgement, to love that didn't come with conditions and price tags. "They're going to hate me," I said quietly. "They already don't see you, babe. What's the difference?" That landed like a punch. Because she was right. I'd been so busy trying to earn their love that I'd never noticed they were incapable of giving it, at least not to me. Not in any way that mattered. Maya stayed until 3 a.m., until the wine was gone, and I'd cried out the fear and the anger and the grief of finally admitting what I'd always known: I was never going to be enough for them, because they'd never needed me to be. They needed me to be useful, not valued. There was a difference. After she left, I pulled out my journal and wrote a letter I'd never send Dear Olivia. "You'll never understand this, but I need to write it anyway. I didn't cancel your wedding out of spite. I canceled it because you canceled me first. You erased me from your big day, from your celebration, from your narrative of who matters. You took my money and my time and my expertise, and you treated it like it was worthless because it came from me. I'm not the villain in this story. I'm just the person who finally stopped volunteering to be your victim. I hope you find happiness. I really do. But I'm done sacrificing mine to make yours possible." Emma, I folded the letter and put it in my desk drawer next to 11 years of birthday cards I'd sent to Olivia that she'd never acknowledged. Then I opened my laptop one more time and confirmed the scheduled emails were ready to send. 9:00 a.m., 8 hours from now. I set my alarm for 8:30, finally crawled into bed, and slept dreamlessly for the first time in months. My alarm went off at 8:30 a.m. I made coffee, took a shower, dressed carefully in jeans and a soft sweater armor that looked casual but made me feel protected. At 8:55, I settled onto my couch with my laptop and my phone. At exactly 9:00 a.m., 7 emails left my outbox. I imagined them traveling through cyberspace, landing in inboxes across Chicago. I imagined vendors reading them over their own morning coffee, understanding immediately what they meant. I imagined the phone calls that would start within the hour. For now, though, there was silence. Peaceful, terrifying silence. I'd scheduled a morning yoga class specifically for this purpose, to force myself out of the apartment to have something to do besides obsess over what was happening on the other end of those emails. I turned my phone off completely, slipped it into my bag, and drove to the studio. The class was restorative yoga, all gentle stretches and breathing exercises. The instructor, a serene woman named Michelle, who always smelled like lavender, guided us through poses with a voice like warm honey. "Release what no longer serves you," she said as we folded forward. "Create space for what does." I felt tears slip down my face and onto my yoga mat. Release, space, concepts I'd never allowed myself. When class ended 90 minutes later, I sat in my car for a long moment before turning my phone back on. It vibrated for a full minute as notifications flooded in. 43 missed calls, 67 text messages, 12 voicemails. I didn't listen to the voicemails. I didn't read most of the texts, but I scrolled through the preview notifications and they told me everything I needed to know. Olivia, 12 messages, call me now. Emma, what the hell did you do? The venue just called, call me. I swear to God if you don't fix this. Mom, 8 messages. Emma, what is going on? Olivia is hysterical. Call me immediately. This is not funny. Call me now. Dad, 6 messages. Young lady, you need to call your mother right now. This is completely unacceptable. We need to talk about this immediately. To Sophie, 3 messages. Em, what's happening? Everyone is freaking out. Are you okay? Call me when you can. And then surprisingly, one from James, Olivia's fiancé. I'd barely spoken to him throughout the entire planning process. Emma, I think we should talk. Can we meet for coffee? I screenshot everything and forwarded it to Sarah Chen with a simple message. It started. Sarah called immediately. How are you holding up? I'm okay, I said and was surprised to realize it was true. I mean, I'm scared, but I'm okay. Good. Don't respond to anyone yet. Let them sit with it for a few hours. And Emma, save every message, every voicemail. If this goes legal, we'll need documentation. You really think they might sue? I think angry people do unpredictable things. Better to be prepared. After we hung up, I did exactly what Sarah suggested, nothing. I went to the grocery store. I cleaned my apartment. I answered emails from actual clients who actually valued my work. I lived my life as if the world wasn't imploding in Olivia's corner of it. It was almost peaceful. At 2:30 p.m., I got a call from Harrison, the events manager at Thornhill Estate. I'd worked with him on 3 previous weddings, and I'd always found him professional and kind. Emma, he said carefully, I wanted to touch base about the cancellation for the Carter Mitchell event. I need to confirm this is really what you want to do. It is, I said. I apologize for any inconvenience, Harrison. I know this is last minute. May I ask what happened? This seemed like a straightforward event, and you've never had an issue before. I took a breath. The client is my sister. She decided I wasn't important enough to attend the wedding I was planning and paying for, so I decided to stop paying for it. There was a pause. I'm sorry to hear that, Emma. Family situations are always complicated. Thank you for understanding. For what it's worth, Harrison said quietly, I've been in this industry for 15 years. I've seen a lot of family dysfunction around weddings. What I haven't seen is the person being exploited standing up for themselves. Good for you. His words made my throat tight. A stranger saw what my family refused to. The deposit will be refunded to your business account by Friday, Harrison continued. And Emma, I hope your next event is for people who deserve you. After that call, I heard from 3 other vendors, all professional, all understanding, all processing refunds, exactly as the contract stipulated. Nobody blamed me. Nobody even questioned my decision once I explained I was the one being excluded from the wedding. The florist Kara from Bloom & Co. even said, I was wondering why the bride seemed so dismissive of you during our meetings. That makes sense now. I'm sorry you had to deal with that. By 3:30 p.m., my business account had received refund confirmation emails totaling $18,500. The wedding was officially canceled, and I had my money back. Now came the hard part, facing what I'd done. At 4:15 p.m., I finally listened to one voicemail. Just one. Olivia's first one left at 12:47 p.m. Her voice was ragged, broken, nothing like the confident sister I'd grown up both loving and resenting. Emma, she was crying, gulping air between words. Emma, please call me back. The venue called and the caterer, and please, I don't understand what's happening. Just call me, please. I'd expected anger. The tears surprised me, and worse, they made me feel something I didn't want to feel, guilt. I called Sarah again. I'm feeling guilty, I admitted. Is that normal? Completely normal, Sarah said. You're not a sociopath, Emma. You're a kind person who was pushed past her breaking point. The guilt means you're human. It doesn't mean you're wrong. What if I am wrong? Did you ask to be excluded from the wedding? No. Did you ask to have your work dismissed and your money exploited? No. Then you're not wrong. You're just done. There's a difference. At 5:00 p.m., I made my decision. I would answer one call. Just one. Get it over with. I dialed Olivia's number. She answered before the first ring finished. Emma, oh my God, Emma, you have to fix this. Please. The wedding is in 6 days and... I'm not fixing it, I said quietly. What? I'm not fixing it, Olivia. I canceled the contracts. The vendors are keeping their deposits per our agreements, but those deposits were mine to begin with, so I'm having them refunded to my business account. Silence. Then you what? I removed my services and my money from a wedding I'm not invited to. That was a seating issue, she screamed, and I had to hold the phone away from my ear. You're destroying my wedding over a seating chart. No, I said, my voice steady, even as my hands shook. I'm protecting myself from people who only value me when they need something. We're family. Then why am I not invited to your wedding? I told you we needed to keep it small. You invited 150 people, Olivia. You invited Aunt Rachel's neighbor. You invited Mom's coworker. You had a bridal shower with 23 people that I found out about on Instagram. I heard her breathing hard on the other end. Then you're just jealous. You've always been jealous that people like me more. And there it was. The truth she'd always believed, the narrative that had ruled our entire relationship. I'm not jealous, I said softly. I'm just tired of being invisible to people who expect me to see them perfectly. Fuck you, Emma. Seriously. You're going to regret this. She hung up. I sat on my couch phone in my lap and waited for the regret to come. It didn't. End of part 2. The next 48 hours felt like living through a storm I'd created but couldn't control. My family came at me from every angle, a coordinated assault designed to break me down until I caved and fixed everything. Wednesday morning, 7:00 a.m. Someone pounded on my apartment door so hard I thought they might break it down. I looked through the peephole and saw my father, red-faced and furious in his work suit. Emma Judith Carter, open this door right now. I stood frozen, watching him through the tiny circle of glass. He pounded again, the sound echoing through my small apartment. My neighbors would complain. Part of me wanted to open the door just to stop the noise, to avoid conflict, to smooth everything over like I'd been trained to do my entire life. Instead, I stepped away from the door and turned on music loud enough to drown out the pounding. After 20 minutes, he left. My phone never stopped buzzing. Mom called 17 times that day alone. On the 18th call, she left a voicemail that made my hands shake. Emma, I don't know who you've become, but this cruelty is not how we raised you. Your sister is devastated. She's barely eating. She can't sleep. You're killing her, do you understand that? You're killing your own sister because of your selfishness. Call me back and fix this, or don't bother calling at all. I saved the voicemail and sent it to Sarah. Her response came immediately. Document everything. This is emotional manipulation in its purest form. The emails were worse because they were calculated, written in moments of composure, designed to cut deeper than the screaming phone calls. From Dad, Emma, I've tried to be patient, but this has gone too far. You're embarrassing this family. People are asking questions. What do I tell them? That my daughter is sabotaging her own sister's wedding out of spite. You need to think about the consequences of your actions. This kind of behavior has repercussions beyond just this wedding. It affects your reputation, your business, your future. Fix this while you still can. From Mom, I've spent the last 2 days trying to understand how my daughter could be so heartless. You've always been sensitive. Emma, too sensitive, really. But I never thought you were cruel. Olivia is willing to forgive you if you make this right. She's willing to add you back to the guest list. All you have to do is reinstate the vendors and we can move forward as a family. Don't throw away your sister over pride. I read that one 3 times. Olivia is willing to forgive you. As if I was the one who needed forgiving. As if my exclusion, my exploitation, my erasure were somehow sins I'd committed against myself. I didn't respond to any of them. But then the extended family got involved, and that's when it got complicated. Aunt Linda, my mom's older sister, called Wednesday afternoon. I almost didn't answer, expecting more of the same, but Linda had always been different, quieter, more observant. Emma, honey, I'm not calling to yell at you. I felt my shoulders drop, tension I didn't know I was carrying releasing slightly. Thank you. I'm calling to say I've watched your mother and father do this to you for 30 years. I've watched them put Olivia on a pedestal and expect you to hold it up, and I've been a coward for not saying anything. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner, but I'm speaking up now. You did the right thing. I started crying, silent tears running down my face. Really, and I want you to know not everyone in this family thinks you're wrong. Some of us are just afraid to say it out loud. After we hung up, I got a text from my cousin Sophie. My mom just called my mom screaming about you. The family is splitting into camps. Thought you should know. Also, for what it's worth, I'm on your side. I posted something on Facebook. Probably going to catch hell for it, but whatever. I opened Facebook, something I rarely did anymore, and found Sophie's post. Some of you need to ask why someone would cancel a wedding they were planning instead of just judging them for doing it. Sometimes the people we hurt the most are the ones we've been hurting quietly for years. Think about that before you pick up your pitchforks. The comments were a war zone. Aunt Carol, family is family. This is disgraceful. Uncle Tom, selfish behavior has consequences. But also surprisingly, Linda, some of you should be ashamed of yourselves. And several cousins I barely knew. There's clearly more to this story. The family was fracturing, and I was the fault line. Thursday afternoon, I got a text from an unknown number. Emma, this is James. Can we talk, just the two of us? I feel like I'm missing something important here. James, the groom. The man who'd been almost invisible throughout this entire process, letting Olivia make every decision, staying carefully neutral in every family drama. We met at a coffee shop in Lincoln Park, neutral territory, far from both our apartments. James looked exhausted, his usual polished appearance slightly rumpled. He ordered black coffee and sat across from me, his hands wrapped around the cup like he needed the warmth. I need you to help me understand, he said carefully. Olivia's version of events doesn't make sense, and I'm starting to realize she might not be telling me everything. So I told him, all of it. The money I'd loaned her that was never repaid. The 6 months of free planning. The deposits I'd paid. The bridal shower exclusion. The seating issue that wasn't really about seating at all. James's face went through several expressions, surprise, discomfort, and finally something that looked like resignation. I didn't know about most of this, he said quietly. I knew she wanted to upgrade the honeymoon, but she told me her parents were helping cover it. I didn't know where the money actually came from. Did you know I wasn't invited? He winced. She told me you were too busy with work to attend, that you'd offered to plan it but couldn't actually be there because of other client commitments. He looked up at me. I should have questioned that. I should have called you directly. You're not the villain here, James, I said. You're just marrying someone who's very good at rewriting reality to suit her narrative. Is she always like this? He asked, then immediately looked horrified. Sorry, I shouldn't ask you that. You should absolutely ask me that. You're about to marry her. I took a breath. Yes, she's always been like this, but it's usually directed at me so you wouldn't have seen it. James was quiet for a long moment. We're supposed to get married in 4 days. Are you still going to? I don't know, he admitted. We're in counseling now. Emergency sessions. The therapist asked Olivia some questions about family dynamics, and Olivia walked out. He rubbed his face. I love her, but I'm starting to realize I might love a version of her that she only shows me. I felt an unexpected wave of sympathy for him. I'm sorry this is affecting you. Emma, you were excluded from your own sister's wedding and forced to fund it anyway. Don't apologize to me. He stood to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I hope you're on that flight to Maui. I hope you're somewhere beautiful away from all of this. After he left, I sat alone with my coffee and realized something even the groom saw how wrong this was. Everyone saw it, except the people who were supposed to love me most. Saturday morning, I woke up in a hotel room in Maui. Not on the beach yet, that would come later, but in a beautiful room with a view of the ocean, the sound of waves drifting through the open window. I'd flown out Thursday evening, leaving Chicago and its chaos behind. I'd turned my phone to airplane mode somewhere over Colorado and hadn't turned it back on. Now at 10:00 a.m. Hawaii time, 2:00 p.m. Chicago time, exactly when Olivia's ceremony was supposed to start, I finally powered my phone back on. It took 3 full minutes for all the notifications to load. 147 missed calls, 283 text messages, 47 voicemails, 12 emails. I didn't read most of them, but I scrolled through enough to piece together what had happened. From Sophie, sent at 11:00 a.m. Chicago time. So they found a backyard, James's parents' place. It's not what Olivia planned. They got Costco catering. Your mom is running around trying to make it look presentable. It's kind of sad, actually. From Sophie, sent at 10:00 p.m. Half the guests didn't show up. Apparently, when the venue cancellation went out, some people just assumed the whole thing was off. This is a disaster. From Sophie, sent at 2:30 p.m. They did it. They actually got married. Olivia cried through the whole thing, but not in a good way. I've never seen a bride look so angry. I'm sending you love, Em. You did the right thing. I sat on my hotel balcony, phone in my lap, watching the ocean sparkle in the afternoon sun. I waited for the satisfaction to come, the vindication, the sense that justice had been served. Instead, I just felt empty. Not regretful, I didn't regret my decision. But I was grieving, I realized. Grieving the family I'd always wanted and never had. Grieving the sister relationship that had never existed outside my imagination. Grieving the unconditional love I'd kept trying to earn, not understanding it couldn't be earned because they weren't offering it. I pulled out my journal and wrote, "Today Olivia got married in a backyard instead of Thornhill Estate. She had Costco trays instead of savory affairs. She had grocery store flowers instead of Bloom & Co.'s garden arrangements. And I'm in Hawaii, watching the ocean, finally choosing myself. I thought this would feel like winning. It doesn't. It feels like accepting a loss I've been denying my whole life. But maybe that's okay. Maybe acceptance is the first step toward actually healing." I spent the afternoon on the beach, my toes in the sand, a book I wasn't really reading open in my lap. Around 4:00 p.m., my phone rang. A FaceTime call from my grandmother Dorothy. I answered immediately. "Grandma?" Her face filled the screen, wrinkled and wise, and so full of love it made my chest ache. She was 85, living in a retirement community in Arizona, and she'd always been the one person in my family who truly saw me. "My darling girl," she said, her voice warm. "I heard what happened. Your mother called me yesterday, crying about what a terrible daughter you are." I felt my throat tighten. And I told her the truth. The terrible daughter is the one she raised to believe other people's needs always matter more than her own. Dorothy smiled. "I'm proud of you, Emma. It takes courage to walk away from people who hurt you, even when they're family. Especially when they're family." "I feel guilty," I whispered. "Of course you do. You're a good person. Good people feel guilty when they cause pain, even pain that's deserved." She paused. "But Emma, you didn't ruin Olivia's wedding. You just stopped paying for it. There's a difference." We talked for almost an hour, Dorothy sharing stories I'd never heard about her own struggles with family, with being undervalued, with finally learning to set boundaries at 40 years old. "I wasted 15 years trying to earn love from people who couldn't give it," she said. "Don't waste any more of yours." After we hung up, I walked down to the water and let the waves wash over my feet. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, and for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt something close to peace. I wasn't happy. Not yet. But I wasn't drowning anymore either. Life moved on in ways both expected and surprising. Carter events not only survived my family drama, it thrived. 3 months after Olivia's wedding, Modern Wedding magazine ran a feature article titled "Ethical Event Planning Setting Boundaries in a Demanding Industry." They interviewed me about professional boundaries, about knowing your worth, about the difference between generosity and exploitation. I didn't mention Olivia by name. I didn't have to. The story told itself. The article brought in 7 new clients, all women who'd experienced similar family dynamics, who wanted a wedding planner who understood the complexity of family obligation and personal limits. I raised my rates by 20%. Everyone paid without question. I hired my first employee in October, a bright college senior named Zoe, who reminded me painfully of my younger self, eager to please, desperate to prove her worth, willing to sacrifice everything to be valued. On her first day, I sat her down and said, "Your worth isn't in how much you sacrifice. It's in the value you create. If I ever ask you to compromise your boundaries for this job, I want you to quit." She looked startled. "Really?" "Really. I learned the hard way. You don't have to." As for my family, we existed in a strange limbo. No contact with my parents or Olivia for 4 months. Then, in October, my mother sent a brief email. "Emma, your father and I think it's time we talked. Please call when you're ready." I waited 2 weeks before responding. I'm open to conversation when you're ready to listen, not just defend. Let me know when that is. Silence. Then, just last week, another email from Mom. "We've started family therapy. Dr. Anderson suggested we invite you to a session. Would you be willing? I haven't responded yet. I'm still deciding if I'm ready, if they're truly ready, if healing is even possible, or if we're all just too broken in our different ways." Sophie and I have coffee every other week now. She told me that Olivia and James are still married, but in intensive couples counseling. She's working through some things, Sophie said carefully. The wedding kind of broke something open for her, made her look at patterns she'd been avoiding. Is she happy? I asked and was surprised to realize I genuinely wanted to know. I think she's getting there. It's hard work, apparently. Good, I said and meant it. The biggest surprise came from Aunt Linda. She started inviting me to monthly dinners with her side of the family, the cousins and aunts and uncles who'd been quietly sympathetic but publicly silent. Slowly, I was building something new, not the family I was born into, but a family I was choosing. Last week, I planned a wedding for 2 women whose families had disowned them. I watched one bride's sister give a toast that made everyone cry. To my sister who taught me that love isn't about who you're supposed to be, but about who you actually are. Thank you for showing me what courage looks like. I thought about Olivia, about the sister I'd wanted her to be versus the sister she was. I thought about the wedding I'd canceled, the family I'd lost, the version of myself I'd finally let go of. And I realized I wasn't mourning anymore. I was free. It's November now, almost a year since Olivia first asked me to plan her wedding. I'm sitting in my office reviewing contracts for a spring wedding when my phone rings. The caller ID says Mom. I stare at it for a long moment, watching it ring once, twice, 3 times. My finger hovers over the decline button, the easy choice, the safe choice. Instead, I take a deep breath and answer. Hi, Mom. Emma? Her voice is quieter than I remember, uncertain. Thank you for picking up. You're welcome. Silence stretches between us, full of everything we haven't said, everything we need to say, everything we might never be able to say. I've been in therapy, Mom says finally. Dr. Anderson has helped me see some things I didn't want to see. About how we treated you. About how I treated you. I don't respond. I wait. I don't expect forgiveness, she continues. I'm not even sure I deserve it, but I wanted you to know that I see it now. I see you now, and I'm sorry. 2 words I've waited 30 years to hear. I'm sorry. They don't fix everything. They don't erase the past or heal the wounds or guarantee a future. But they're a beginning. Thank you for saying that, I say quietly. I'm not ready to forgive yet, but I'm ready to listen. That's more than I deserve, Mom says, and her voice breaks. Emma, I love you. I don't think I've said that enough. I don't think I've shown it at all, but I love you. We talk for 20 minutes. Not about Olivia, not about the wedding, just about small things, the weather, her garden, my business. Safe topics that feel like practice for harder conversations to come. When we hang up, I sit in the quiet of my office and realize something important. I don't know if my family will ever be what I needed them to be. But I finally know that my worth isn't determined by whether they see it. I see it. And that's enough. Outside my window, the November sky is gray but not dark. Storm clouds gathering but also breaking. Light pushing through. I turn back to my work, to the wedding I'm planning for people who value what I bring to their celebration, to the business I built, to the life I chose. And for the first time in my life, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. End of story. Word count part 3, 2, 016 words. Total story 8, 036 words. Then, the story is complete. It ends on a note of hope and healing without being unrealistic. Emma has set boundaries. Her family is beginning to acknowledge their mistakes. But there's no guarantee of full reconciliation. The focus remains on Emma's journey to self-worth rather than revenge or dramatic justice. This ending should resonate particularly well with women over 50 who may have navigated similar family dynamics.